In this week's episode of Post Frame 360, we talk all things color, color match, code tolerance, color chips, warranties, how to protect your business related to color. Hey, welcome back to Post Frame 360. I'm your host, Josh Nowlin, and I'm excited today to talk a little bit about color. And Color Me Crazy is what I titled this episode because it can kind of drive you crazy. There's so much to know about color when you're talking about paint codes and color and matching. And, when we're out there building somebody's dream shop or pool house up close to their main home and they want to match things of that nature, there are some things you really should know and you should consider and your client should consider. So, you know, looking forward to having this conversation today. This is my first solo run. So I'm going to do this solo. I had a conversation this morning with a good friend of mine, and it got me thinking about color. So I thought, hey, let me just podcast about it while it's fresh in my brain. You might notice this cool hat I'm wearing if you're watching on YouTube. This is the new Kansas City Royals City Connect hat. And I thought it fit well for this conversation because it's very colorful. I think the inspiration was a Midwest sunset over the Kansas City fountains. There are over 200 fountains in the city of Kansas City. And, if you know me, if you've been listening, I basically raised my family in Kansas City. So it's a great town, great city, still a Royals fan, even though they're not doing so hot this season. Although they did get a big win last night against the Baltimore Orioles. So way to go, Kansas City. Well, when I was talking to my buddy Brian Chatham, he's an industry professional. He works for United Steel Supply. He's been in the industry a long time. And we were talking color because I have a client that they're wanting two different panel configurations. So panel configuration A, we buy from this other vendor partner. And then, configuration B, we buy from this other vendor partner. So we're dealing with two separate vendors for the wall and the roof system. And we want to make sure that the color matches. Well, the only way to do that, you would think, right, is through the color codes. So you'd reach out to your supplier, the manufacturer, and say, hey, I'm trying to match two different systems, two different manufacturers, and I want to make sure it's the same color. And so what you can do, I think the most you can do is to somewhat guarantee that, to the best of your ability through using a color code. So one thing I did is, and the reason I called is because I was trying to figure out, hey, I know you sell product to this client and you sell product to that client, and I need to know, are they using the same color code? And, in the conversation, that's certainly step one, right? That's step one, is making sure the color code matches, because otherwise, even with black or white, I mean, there's so many different shades, and there's shiny and there's dull and there's matte and there's, crinkle. There's all these different options available. And so you want to make sure, even if it's coming from the same, same paint manufacturer, even if it's Sherwin-Williams or Axo, is it coming from the North region plant or is it coming from the South region coder? Because that could make a difference. In the discussion, we talked about, even though it is an exact color code, there are some other things to consider that, technically, yes, the formulation is the same, the code is the same, but within that code, there are tolerances, right? And so there's really no absolute guarantee that it's going to be 100% guaranteed. This is dead on. This is going to be 100% match because of that, because of the tolerances, because of, coming from this coder versus that coder. Uh, by the way, if you've never toured a coating facility and you ever get the opportunity, I'd highly suggest it. Very interesting. But with those tolerances, there's no 100% guarantee. So I think, again, going back to what you can do as the contractor, the one supplying the homeowner with a project, is ensuring them that you are buying the same color code so that you're doing everything in your power to ensure a good match. Another thing to consider is if a client's telling you, hey, I want to match, 2 years ago, we built our home and we put a black metal roof on it. And now that we're building the pool house and it's only like 30, 40 feet away from the main house, I want to make sure that the colors match. And I would just be very, very blunt and upfront with your customer that you really can't guarantee it. The best you can do is say, okay, what was the color code used on the house? I will make sure that I supply the same color code, on the project that I'm going to build. The other thing to be very upfront about is if it's been on the house or another building on the property for any length of time, even a week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, in my example, 2 years, is that roof has been up there protecting that home. It's been covering, it's been, out in the elements, in the sun, the heat, the rain, the snow and ice, depending on where you're from. But it's been through, the ringers for 2 years. It's highly unlikely. I mean, you just can't match it at that point. So it's going to be very, very tough. So again, what you can guarantee is that you can supply the same color code as long as you have their code, and make sure your supplier, uses the same color product. And that's the best you can do. So we talked about, the coders and tolerances with the color codes. You can even if you're buying the product from the same manufacturer, okay? The manufacturer gets their coils always from, let's say, the same coating facility. Even on a big run, you will be warned by the manufacturer, like, okay, if we run out of coil after we run your roof and we still have to run the wall and it's the same color, we have to start another coil on the machine. Even from coil to coil, there could be a tolerance difference based on when that was ran, through the coder versus when this coil was ran through and coated. There could be some differences there, just to be aware of that. I mean, usually if you're on the same coil, if you can get a whole run out of the same coil, you're good to go, right? But if you have to switch coils, again, no guarantee. But as we've been talking about the whole time, there's really no guarantee in any of it anyway. So the best you can do is guarantee that that new coil is the same color code as the other coil that was used to run your product. Another example or another good practice for your business would be color chips. If you're buying product from two different manufacturers or products coming from two different facilities, is get a color chip from each facility, each manufacturer, and send that to your customer, or ask the manufacturer to send it directly to your customer so that the customer can see, feel it. They can lay it up against the house roof, whatever they want to do to feel comfortable that, yes, I'm okay with this. Yes, this looks good. And if you get some sort of a sign off or even an email or a voicemail from your client saying, yes, I approve this based on these color chips, this looks good to go, because it's just a way to protect your business, to make sure that you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's, to make sure you're doing everything you can to ensure that this project is going to go as planned. And let's face it, anybody who's sold a project to a homeowner, whether it be a metal roof project or a post frame building, is, when you're meeting with that customer, getting ready to sign them up, you already know that what's important to them and what's not, based on the conversations you've been having. And if it keeps coming up, whether it be the man or the wife or the partner, whatever, and color keeps coming up, paint match, I want to match, I want to match, I want to match, I want to match my siding, I want to match the trim. It's important to them. Okay. So do everything in your power that you can to ensure color match and to get their buy-in on what you're doing. Don't just take a picture of their siding and say, oh yeah, we'll match it, and then come to your manufacturer supplier and show them that picture and say, well, what's that? Well, that's really close to charcoal, but it could be charcoal gray from this other manufacturer. There's a slight difference. And then all of a sudden, now you're sitting here trying to look at a picture and make a decision on which color to choose. Don't do that. Don't rush it. Don't make that decision. Don't take that liability. get the color chips over to your client, let them sign off on it, and then you're just saving yourself a lot of time, headaches, and money later. So very, very important to do that and get the customers buy-in. And also, even if they're signing off on the color chips, whatever, as we talked about earlier, what coil were those color chips cut from? And is that the same coil that's going to be running their project? Because if it's not, there could be a slight variance. But again, the color code's the same. It's all going to be within a tolerance. So it's just hard for me to say I guarantee an exact dead on match. In the past, one thing that came up quite a bit when I was building was I want my garage door to match my trim on the project. Well, first of all, there's no garage door manufacturer out there that I'm aware of that does a good job with out of the manufacturing facility dead on color matches with metal manufacturers. Generally, it's kind of like seamless gutters, garage doors, and even entry doors and windows. If you're getting those pre-coated black or almond or whatever, is highly unlikely it's going to be a dead on match to the steel. And when you're in that scenario, one of the things I would do to handle that, and maybe you could call it pass the buck, whatever, is I would say, we're just going to do these garage doors in primed white. They're going to be ready for paint, builder grade garage doors, just like any custom home that's built or any spec home that's built. They come in, they put the garage doors, they put them in, and then the painter comes in and paints the doors to match the trim when they're painting the house. I'd use the same scenario on the buildings I'd build. I'd say, hey, look, whatever the color is we're trying to match, I'll give you the code from the coder off of the trim, whether it's taupe or whatever color it is, and I'll give you the exact paint code. You take that to the paint store or give that to your painter and have them go ahead and use that to get the paint to match the trim. And that's about the best you can do because, there's like every manufacturer has a shade of brown. I've very rarely do you see browns that match. And if you try to match, I'll just get the garage door brown. It'll match. No, it won't. I guarantee you it won't. So just it's easiest just to paint it. At least that's what I found. Plus, again, like I said earlier, kind of like passing the buck. Like, yeah, that's something you'll have to deal with after I'm gone. I used to have a sales rep I worked with that, his favorite. Well, one of the things I remember him saying is, well, when related to color choice on things like garage doors and windows and entry doors is like you have three options. It's white, or white. I had laughed the first time I heard him say that, but that's it's kind of the easy way out. It's kind of not allowing you to screw something up or oh yeah, we can match that, and then and not match, right? And then you're stuck in a situation. Another thing related to color that is important to know is there are different types of coatings. And I'm sure most of you know that, but there are like at Burroughs, we use standard Weather XL, Sherwin-Williams or Valspar Sherwin-Williams paint coat. And, a lot of people look at over the years, in the areas I've been working in, primarily the Midwest and Mid South and this Southern region is people talk about paint coating by warranty. Oh, give me a 40-year paint. Give me a 5-year paint. Give me a lifetime paint. That's really not a way to identify the type of paint that you want because what happens is a warranty is just whatever anybody says it is. It's really just a piece of paper with a bunch of stuff written on it specifying what the warranty is. And, you can offer, there could be a coder that offers a lifetime warranty on a SMP paint system, but really, that warranty somewhere in the fine print probably deems the lifetime lifetime is deemed as 10 years or 40 years or 30 years, whatever it is. Just understand that it's one of the things I learned early in my career. I worked for a steel company, national manufacturer, McElroy Metal, and one of the things I learned very early on was you can actually have a warranty on a premium product that's going to outlast another product that has less years on the warranty. Like, oh, this premium paint that's way more expensive only offers a 30-year warranty, but then you've got this other system that's good, but not near as good as that other system, and it's got a 40-year. Well, what I learned is that, manufacturers have to make a decision, on this 40-year, on this, product. You have to compete with similar products in the industry and similar warranties in the industry. So you can extend that warranty from, say, 30 years to 40 years, but then in the fine print, essentially they're going to protect themselves. So again, I don't want to get into a full blown warranty discussion here. I will just tell you that if you're going to sell on warranty to your customers, you better darn sure understand the warranty so that if and when they have to call you to talk to you about that warranty, you understand what it is, and you're not just like, oh yeah, it's covered, it's a 40-year, and you call your manufacturer or the supplier, and the supplier sends a representative out and they determine that no, this isn't a warranty claim, this isn't covered. Then you kind of look like a dipshit, right? Like, you don't want to look like that. So understand what you're selling and feel comfortable with what you're selling, because at the end of the day, your name is on the end of the building. Your name is on the project. You're the contractor. You're the one that sold that homeowner. They bought from you. They bought from your business, not the manufacturer you're buying it from. So just be sure that you take the time to understand what it is you're selling them, and be sure to be upfront about that, right? And if you want a different product that your manufacturer doesn't carry, your supplier doesn't carry, talk to them about it, right? And see what we could do. See if there's a way we can. I'm sure there can be some accommodations made. But again, there are several different coating systems out there, and there's different brand names for different systems. Like with Sherwin-Williams or Valspar, they've got the Weather XL, which is the siliconized polyester system, and then they've got like a Kynar 500, which is like a more expensive, longer lasting, higher grade paint system. I can't get into the chemistry of it. I'm just giving you the sales guy understanding of it, and I didn't brush up on it prior to doing this podcast. But there is another system out there that is I would call it I would feel comfortable saying a premium paint system. If you're building someone a forever home, and a pool house right next to the forever home, and this is it's on some land, and you just know that this family's going to live there forever, and they want black. Like, one of the most popular colors right now, right, is black. Well, there is a SMP system that's black, and there's a Kynar system that's black. The Kynar is not going to fade and chalk like the SMP will over time. And so one of the things that I was discussing with Brian this morning was that, if it's kind of like looking at yourself in the mirror every day, right? You kind of like, you don't notice little minor changes. You don't notice that you're getting fat until all of a sudden you see a picture of yourself laying on the beach with your shirt off on your family vacation. And then you're like, oh, shocks. But paint system's kind of the same way. I mean, you're coming home every day, your roof's on the house, your building's covered. That black is going to slowly chalk, maybe fade over time. 10 years, 12 years, it's going to start to chalk a little bit and get lighter. So like a black might start to look like a charcoal in 10 or 15 years, whatever. I'm just throwing those numbers out there. I'm not saying that it will do any of this, but from my experience, that's what I've seen. And nobody really notices or cares. And if they do, the manufacturers will come out, they'll wipe the chalk off the building, because somewhere in the warranty it says you need to clean your roof. It's going to chalk. You need to clean it off. And you clean it off, and by golly, wow, it is black under there. So you really don't notice it though. I don't pay that close attention. After 10 years of pulling in your property every day, you're going to stop caring so much, or B, you just don't notice the change. But what will happen is if a storm comes through, and a tree limb falls on the corner of the house, and you got to replace 3 or 4 sheets of steel off of one end of the roof during that rebuilding process, repair process, you will notice a major difference. It'll be like freaking black and white. I mean, it's going to be a major difference if you're replacing a sheet or two of SMP that's been on the roof for 10 years, 12 years. However, with a Kynar finish, it's likely that you would not notice any change at all in that. So it's a really good formulation, but it's a lot more expensive like everything else, right? If you're buying if you're buying a 6x6 or if you're buying a glue lamp, I mean, there's the obvious difference in quality and longevity and all that stuff, but you know what you're going to pay more for, right? It's just the way of it. Now, that's going to lead me off a little bit here. And I know I got to wrap up this podcast here pretty quick, but I just want to say that no, I'm not. I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to allow myself to go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, fit wrapping up the warranty talk, there's paint differences, there's warranty differences, there's each warranty, most warranties that I've encountered over time in paint are non-transferable, which means it's really only good for you if you sell the home and move out of state, you sell the home, the people that buy the home from you, the warranties just it's gone at that point. So that is it for today. I don't know if you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope so. Again, this is my first real solo run on an episode like this. It's something that I was pretty comfortable and confident in talking to you guys about. And I hope you found some little nugget of maybe something you didn't know or something that you'd like to adopt from this episode to help you grow your business and just run a good operation. So I appreciate you guys. As always, if you enjoyed the episode, please share it. Please share it on your social media feed, share it with your friends and family. Like and subscribe to the podcast so that whenever I post these, you'll get a push notification letting you know that there's a new episode up, which I try to do weekly. And yeah, I appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. Peace out.